Right now, Florida Fish and Wildlife say they're seeing a decrease in the number of erratically spinning fish and small-tooth sawfish.
The death of a small-tooth sawfish that they helped rescue last month in the Florida Keys. Now, they say the animal was euthanized yesterday.
A strange, horrifying event has unfolded along Florida's waters, one that immediately sent chills through the scientific community. In recent months, endangered sawfish have been discovered exhibiting bizarre spinning behavior before succumbing to death. These majestic prehistoric fish, long, slender bodies and long-toothed snouts, are suddenly caught in a fatal dance, twirling in erratic circles before beaching themselves or dying offshore. This terrifying resurgence has left marine biologists and conservationists scrambling for answers and desperate to understand how something so fundamental to life in Florida's coastal ecosystems could be collapsing so abruptly. Before we start, please don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel for more updates. The phenomenon first drew attention when dozens of reports emerged across Florida's Keys, Biscayne Bay, and southern coastal waters. Since December, more than 20 additional cases were recorded, adding to a grim tally of over 50 deaths from the same affliction last year. Local authorities and fishery biologists observed that the affected sawfish would spin violently, sometimes for hours, often in shallow waters, and many ended washed ashore, unable to survive. At first glance, the symptoms hint at neurological disruption. The controlled fluid motion so characteristic of fish swimming is replaced by disoriented spinning. Tissue samples revealed subtle, but unexplained, changes in brain matter. Scientists screened for dozens of pathogens, parasites, viruses, and chemical pollutants, yet found no smoking gun. No known toxin or pathogen has been definitively linked to the disorder. Equally confounding is the lack of pattern in environmental conditions. The outbreaks don't seem to align cleanly with one season or one region. Some cases appear in deeper waters, others near shallow coastal zones. Hot summer months, cold snaps, changing currents, nutrient runoff, harmful algal blooms, none of these has yet been conclusively tied to the phenomenon. Yet each remains a candidate in the scientific investigation. Because sawfish are endangered and play important roles in their ecosystems, the consequences of this mystery are enormous. These creatures have existed for millions of years, acting as apex regulators in shallow marine and estuarine zones. Their absence or decline could ripple outward, jeopardizing the balance of seagrass beds, prey species populations, and other predators' behaviors. Scientists view the spinning die-off not just as an isolated tragedy, but as a warning sign. One hypothesis gaining traction centers on microscopic toxins produced by algal blooms. Florida's waters have long battled episodes of red tide and other harmful algal growths, some of which secrete potent neurotoxins. In warm months especially, layered nutrient surges from land runoff or shifting ocean currents can feed these blooms. It's plausible that sawfish are ingesting or absorbing neurotoxic compounds that scramble their neurological functioning. But the lack of uniformity in toxin detections complicates this hypothesis. Another possible contributor is thermal stress. As oceans heat, the balance of microbial communities, oxygen levels, and chemical gradients changes. A prolonged heat wave has already been implicated in other marine die-offs in Florida. Such thermal anomalies might predispose sawfish to vulnerability, pushing them over thresholds they ordinarily could withstand. Some scientists wonder if multiple stressors are combining in a perfect storm. Perhaps modest traces of pollutants, minor viral triggers, temperature stress, and fluctuating ocean chemistry all act synergistically. Alone, each might be tolerable. Together, they could push vulnerable individuals past a kill threshold. That possibility makes the investigation so urgent and so challenging. What frightens researchers most is the speed of recurrence and the apparent lack of a natural recovery buffer. Sawfish populations are already fragile. Genetic diversity is low. Breeding success is tenuous. A repeated affliction with no solution in sight could push local populations past a tipping point from which recovery might not be possible. Compounding the problem is that some affected sawfish have been observed in areas without obvious algal bloom presence. In those zones, water sampling has revealed nothing exceptional. That means the cause may be subtle, episodic, or deeply hidden. Some tissues even remain negative for all tested contaminants. The absence of clear biomarkers is confounding. To unravel the mystery, Scientists are deploying a battery of approaches. Field biologists are increasing surveillance, reporting cases from fishing guides, private boats, and citizen observers. Autopsies on dead sawfish are being performed with unprecedented thoroughness, including microscopic brain scans and novel chemical screening. Water sensors and aerial drone surveys track algal blooms, temperature gradients, salinity shifts, and pollutant plumes. Genetic studies aim to discover whether affected individuals share vulnerabilities or mutations that make them more susceptible. Even as investigations proceed, the implications loom larger. If the cause is identified as a toxin or pollutant, it would implicate human influence, agricultural runoff, industrial discharge, nutrient loading, as direct contributors to marine devastation. That would demand policy changes, stricter regulations, and potentially compensatory restoration efforts. If instead the cause is microbial or viral, it could suggest missing elements of disease ecology in marine systems, pointing to unknown pathogens or vectors. Or if it is fundamentally climatic, driven by warming seas, ocean acidification, or altered current regimes, then it becomes part of the broader narrative of climate change's stealth destabilization of ecosystems. The waters off Florida shimmer under an unrelenting sun, but beneath that brightness, something unseen has taken hold, a phenomenon that is as invisible as it is horrifying. It's not just a disease, not a red tide easily traced to a bloom of toxic algae, not a pollution spill that can be photographed or measured. What has emerged is a silent disruption, something that rewrites the very rhythm of the ocean's living systems. Marine scientists, oceanographers, and wildlife pathologists find themselves at the edge of comprehension, staring into a mystery that stretches deeper than the water itself. In the early morning hours, the first rays of light hit the shallow flats of Florida Bay, and local fishermen, people who know every current, every tide, every whisper of the sea, notice the change first. The water looks normal, glassy and calm, but the fish are behaving in ways that defy explanation. Its body cuts through the water like a malfunctioning compass needle. The fishermen approach slowly, thinking it might be tangled in debris or wounded. But when they draw near, they see there's no net, no wound, no visible harm. The animal moves as though something deep within its body has taken control, as though its balance, its sense of direction, has been erased. The spinning intensifies until the fish drifts sideways and goes still. It's a spectacle that leaves the witnesses in silence. When the scientists arrive to examine it, the sense of dread deepens. The tissues look normal. The eyes are clear. The body is intact. Yet the brain, tiny compared to the vast body, appears subtly changed under the microscope, as though its internal signals had been scrambled, its nervous system hijacked. This single observation becomes the seed of an obsession for many marine biologists who have spent their lives trying to keep such creatures alive. The sawfish is one of evolution's oldest designs, a relic from a time before humans walked the earth. With a lineage stretching back over 60 million years, it has survived ice ages, mass extinctions, and shifting continents. Its saw-like rostrum lined with teeth is both weapon and sensory organ, detecting the faintest electrical pulses from prey. But the creature's endurance has always relied on balance, its ability to move through water with instinctive grace. That instinct is what seems to have vanished. At marine research facilities from Miami to the Keys, tanks now hold specimens collected during these events. Teams observe, document, and probe, trying to detect patterns. The water chemistry is checked hourly. Salinity, temperature, oxygen saturation, bacterial counts, nothing offers the smoking gun. The fish appear healthy until suddenly, they are not. Their movements become frantic, spiraling, then limp. The neurological distress is unmistakable, yet the cause remains elusive. What unsettles scientists most is how isolated the symptoms appear. No other species in the same region seem affected to the same extent. A few rays and small sharks exhibit strange swimming patterns, but not the full-body spinning collapse that characterizes the sawfish. It suggests something species-specific, perhaps a neurotoxin targeting the unique sensory system that makes sawfish distinct. Their rostrum, rich in electroreceptors, could act like an antenna, drawing in whatever invisible force now pervades these waters. One of the most haunting theories arises from within the field of environmental neurobiology. Some researchers speculate that a new class of environmental contaminants, nanoplastics combined with heavy metals, might interfere with electrical signaling in marine nervous systems. These materials, invisible to the naked eye, can infiltrate cells, binding to proteins or neural receptors. In the delicate tissues of the sawfish's rostrum and brain, even trace amounts could cause electrical misfiring. It's a possibility that chills every researcher who understands how pervasive these substances have become in coastal ecosystems. Samples taken from sediments near affected areas reveal an unsettling pattern. Minute traces of synthetic polymers, fragments smaller than a grain of sand, carrying residues of lead, copper, and cadmium. While not at levels traditionally considered lethal, their combination and chronic exposure could create new forms of toxicity, an interaction science hasn't yet mapped. Some researchers argue that what's happening is not poisoning in the traditional sense, but neurological confusion, where the signals between nerve cells degrade into chaos. The thought that human pollution could rewire one of Earth's oldest species in such a grotesque way is almost unbearable. It suggests that civilization has begun to infiltrate not just habitats, but biology itself, reshaping behavior at the molecular level. In that sense, the spinning sawfish becomes more than an isolated tragedy. It's a metaphor for the entire ocean, turning in disoriented circles under the pressure of human alteration. For others, however, the mystery doesn't fit neatly into the toxin narrative. Some point to anomalies in Florida's geomagnetic field. The Earth's magnetic map is not static, it fluctuates constantly, particularly in coastal zones where mineral deposits, fault lines, and atmospheric conditions converge. Sawfish, like many migratory species, rely partly on magnetoreception to orient themselves. If the field lines shift abruptly due to electromagnetic interference, perhaps from underwater cables, radar systems, or military sonar, these fish might literally lose their sense of direction. The Gulf region hosts extensive naval activity, deep-sea research arrays, and experimental undersea communications equipment. Low-frequency sonar has long been debated for its potential to disrupt marine navigation and hearing. While these signals are not typically designed to harm, their low vibrations can interfere with the inner ear structures of fish, leading to disorientation. If sawfish are uniquely sensitive to these frequencies, they might respond with the spinning seen in the field. Yet even that explanation doesn't capture the full horror. The episodes seem too localized, too unpredictable. Sometimes they occur miles from any known human signal source. Scientists map these occurrences like crime scenes, drawing arcs of latitude and longitude across the Florida coast. Each red mark on the map represents a death, a mystery pinned to an exact coordinate, but connected by an invisible thread. Every day more eyes turn toward the water. Researchers deploy submersibles and autonomous drones to record underwater soundscapes. The ocean, normally alive with the clicks, grunts, and hums of marine life, now bears a different tone in the afflicted zones. It's quieter, emptier. Where schools of mullet once shimmered, there's an eerie absence. Dolphins that used to chase bait along the shallows avoid the same waters now. The silence beneath the waves is louder than any sonar pulse. Local communities, especially those that depend on fishing, sense the tension too. In coastal towns like Marathon and Isla Morada, the phenomenon becomes more than a scientific enigma. It's a psychological weight. Fishermen start avoiding certain channels at night. Stories spread of boats crossing areas where fish behave strangely, where birds won't dive, where the sea feels wrong. Though scientists are careful not to invoke superstition, the locals whisper that something unnatural has woken beneath the water. That sense of awakening begins to enter scientific thought in another form: the biological chain reaction. Every ecosystem is a network of invisible threads, each organism tuned to countless cues: chemical, thermal, acoustic. If one element breaks, others respond unpredictably. Researchers begin to suspect that the sawfish event might be part of a larger systemic breakdown. Subtle imbalances, oxygen shifts from algal decay, microbial mutations in plankton populations, could cascade upward through the food web. The microscopic world of the ocean is constantly mutating. Viruses infect bacteria. Bacteria infect plankton. Plankton form the foundation for everything larger. If a novel virus or bacterium has emerged in this microscopic realm, capable of interfering with neural signaling or sensory function, it could spread invisibly across the marine environment. Scientists collect samples of seawater, filtering them through ultrafine membranes, searching for genetic fragments that might reveal something new: a viral sequence that doesn't match anything in databases. The sequencing labs hum through the night, machines decoding strands of DNA while researchers wait in anxious silence. Days later, a partial sequence appears on one lab's screen, something never seen before. It's too incomplete to identify, but it hints at a viral family known to interact with nerve tissue in some fish species. The fragment could be meaningless, or it could be the first clue. The thought that an entirely new virus might be sweeping unseen through Florida's marine life fills the researchers with dread. If it's viral, it could mutate. It could spread beyond sawfish. That's when the research widens beyond the Florida coast. Reports start to come in from other parts of the Gulf. Faintly similar cases involving rays or small sharks showing signs of erratic swimming. The pattern is inconsistent but unsettling. It suggests a migration of the phenomenon, following currents and temperature fronts. Scientists begin to model the potential spread like an epidemiologist maps an outbreak. The data points trace an ominous arc northward and westward, hinting that what's emerging in Florida might not stay there. Meanwhile, the living sawfish still out in the wild are under constant watch. Tagging programs expand, attaching acoustic transmitters to track their movement. The data show something strange. Some of the tagged fish begin to linger in zones they used to avoid, as though drawn by an unseen influence. Then, their signals vanish one by one as the fish die or their tags fail. Each lost signal is another unanswered question. The implications for conservation are staggering. Sawfish recovery had been one of Florida's few recent success stories. After decades of overfishing and habitat loss, numbers had started to inch upward thanks to strict protection laws. Now, the same species that had symbolized resilience has become the epicenter of a new ecological nightmare. Conservationists fear that years of progress could evaporate in a single season. The broader ecosystem feels the ripple effects. With fewer sawfish, smaller fish populations surge unchecked. Crustaceans and mollusks that would have been preyed upon begin to multiply, altering seagrass bed composition. Predatory sharks shift their foraging zones, coming closer to shore. Everything that depends on balance, everything that relies on the old rhythm, starts to wobble. In laboratories, the tone of conversation changes from curiosity to alarm. The scientists' faces grow more drawn. Their research logs fill with contradictions. Every hypothesis seems to collapse under new data. Some start to whisper of unknown chemical reactions happening in seawater, interactions between pollutants and biological matter that create short-lived neurotoxic byproducts. These byproducts might exist for only minutes or hours, impossible to detect by the time samples are taken. Such transitory poisons would be the perfect culprit, invisible, ephemeral, and devastating. But even that explanation feels incomplete. What if, one researcher suggests, the phenomenon isn't chemical at all? What if it's energetic, linked to vibrational frequencies in the environment, shifts in underwater resonance caused by human technology, storms, or even changes in the ionosphere? The oceans are conductive. They respond to the planet's electromagnetic moods. A minor shift in atmospheric electricity, a rise in solar radiation, could subtly alter ionic balances in shallow waters. For an organism as sensitive as the sawfish, that might be enough to trigger confusion, disorientation, and neurological collapse. These ideas sound speculative, but desperation breeds creativity. The scientific community opens itself to every possibility. Grants are filed, emergency funds released, research vessels mobilized. The United States Geological Survey collaborates with NASA to examine potential geomagnetic anomalies. The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration installs new sensors across the Keys to track water column changes. Every agency feels the urgency now, as though the ocean itself is issuing a warning. Meanwhile, coastal residents watch their shorelines more closely. Some start taking videos of the spinning fish, posting them online. The images go viral, majestic creatures spiraling helplessly before sinking into the sand. Public fascination turns quickly to fear. If the cause is environmental, what does it mean for people who swim, fish, and live off these waters? Is there something toxic in the sea, something that could affect humans next? Officials reassure the public, but even they sound uncertain. Inside the research community, there's an unspoken sense of dread that what's happening isn't a localized event, but a symptom of a much larger process. The Earth's oceans are warming faster than predicted, oxygen levels dropping, currents shifting. Each small perturbation might be unlocking new chemical or biological interactions. The Florida event could be the first visible manifestation of a planetary change still unfolding beneath the surface. If you like this video, please give it a like and subscribe to our channel. Also, leave your comments below and tell us, what are your thoughts on this terrifying discovery in Florida? We want to hear from you. Thank you for watching and see you next time.